originally the Avery Normal Institute. We have been operating as the Avery Research Center since 1990. We're an archive, library, and museum. But originally, the building purpose was to educate African Americans after the Civil War. It was founded by the American Missionary Association, which established schools across the South to educate African Americans that were formerly enslaved and those that were already free during the period of enslavement, during the economic period. And hard to see that I'm not adjusted. Hopefully you can see it. The Avery as a school, though, closed in 1954. And when that happened, a lot of the students that were attended Avery came to work. The last class I went to Avery was 1954, and then this building was empty for a while. Then Trident Tech, which was Palmer Technical College, operated out of the building, business school. And then they ended their space in 1970s, early 80s. And then the building was empty again. The city of Charleston wanted to turn it into condos. The alumni of Avery, with Lucille Whipper, approached the College of Charleston and the state of South Carolina to purchase the building and to have an archive, library, museum to Black history. And so that happened. And in the 1980s, the Avery Research Center opened in 1990. Dr. Myrna Glasgow was our first director. And she thought it was really important to document the experiences of the Low Country and the alumni of Avery. And that is how we've been operating today. The early collections we got were from Septima Clark, Esau Jenkins, Denise Robinson were some of the main people that we collected early on. It also was very foundational to have material relating to the sweetgrass baskets and Gullah Geechee culture and language. So we've been establishing that model since 1990, and we're operating that still today. Our collections really go from the 1800s to about the early 2000s, with our primary bulk materials coming from 1930s to about 1990s. We have 4,000 linear feet material, so this building is 3 floors, and we have storage on all 3 floors. So we have our archival material, a library material, and our artifacts, all on the 3 floors. We have 6 staff members. We hire 2. Right now we have 2 grad students, and we also hire undergrads. So we give them experience and exposure with the profession, but also give them a history of Charleston as well. We train them on archival procedures, we train them on how to do museum tours, how to engage with the public, and so it's a great experience for anyone, but also for students at the College of Charleston. So just want to clarify the 3 different professions. So we have archives, libraries, and museums. Archives are usually staffed by people called archivists. We are there to preserve and put access to records that are unique that you do not find elsewhere. While libraries are staffed by librarians, and they are there to provide access to information that is usually secondary sources. And the materials in libraries you can usually find in multiple locations. That a book can be found in multiple libraries. Museums are there to help you interpret and tell a story, a narrative about a particular topic, person, theme. And so we all work together. So people that work in museums usually called curators, because they curate a story. And so a lot of the curators, they use archival material, they use primary sources, secondary sources to tell that narrative, right? The other important part about an archive versus a library is that a library can check materials out. Like you take things home with you. While an archive, you have to use materials while you're in that space. We can make copies for you, we can scan things, we can make PDFs for you, but that's there. We want to preserve the materials for other people to have access to. Has anyone done research before in an archive or library? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I mentioned earlier about primary sources. So there are 3 different types of sources that are out there. They're primary sources. They're created by, to represent the first-hand experiences. They create during the time that an archive, that an item was, foundation was created firsthand. For secondary source materials are offer analysis of an item, while tertiary sources provide basically a brief overview. Think of a encyclopedia. A encyclopedia is a tertiary source because they really provide you really brief sentences, and then you really can go refer back to secondary sources and primary sources for the materials. So why would you use primary sources? Why are primary sources important? And it's really because they offer a first-hand account, understanding of what actually happened during that time. The secondary sources can help you provide some analysis, understanding of placing that item into context, right? So some examples of primary sources are listed here. We have oral histories, which some mentioned earlier about oral histories, interviews conducted with people about a particular time period. So these are two interviews we have at Avery with Louise Munson and Eugene Hunt. So just two examples. We have a lot more oral history at Avery, about Burke history, about Charleston history. We also have newspapers of local newspaper, Post and Courier, the Parvenu, which is the newspaper here at Burke, the Charleston Messenger, and then also like CNN or the New York Times, newspapers. They offer an account, understanding of what's going on. You have yearbooks. Yearbooks are primary sources because they have photographs, they have names, they have particular people information in there that they're created during that time. Then you have other kind of ephemera, materials that people just usually throw away. So you think of like school programs, newsletters, newspaper article, obituaries. Those are also primary sources because they contain information that help you understand what are the concerns and issues of the day. Then audiovisual material, you have photographs and video of, think of civil rights movement, think of 9/11. Those kind of items really reflect what time period of what was happening.
If I send a couple more in here?
Oh yeah, come on.
Y'all come in here. They went in there, but we're all full in there. Come in here.
Some of my newspapers. This was from 1972, the Parvenu. And so this is from May of 72, talking about a walkout. So the students and faculty at Burke wanted, through advocating for better situations here at the high school. And so here you understand what are the issues. You got some quotes, you have facts. And so when you're looking at primary sources, you see the issues that kind of relate to today's issues as well. The kind of hits the continuum of activism, the continuation of really school disinvestment, really, and how students can engage with this. Welcome everyone. And also, you get some interesting cartoons in here. You got a little fashion, similar. So beyond, got some fun things by the Black Hand Side. It's a comedy act. And so there's different items you find here. You have activism here. You have some fashion and some comic and drawings. So all these things come together in this one newsletter, a newspaper.
Cool.
So how do you access these materials? So at Avery, we're located at 125 Bull Street. We're open through Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. and then we reopen at 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. And we usually actually come in by appointment just so we can have materials ready for you to access. We can also have conversations with you beforehand so that we understand what your research area is, and we can help you direct you to materials, even if not at College Charleston, not at Avery, but elsewhere in the country or in the world, depending on what you're researching. It's free to attend. It's free to come to Avery. You don't have to pay for anything. Well, you have to pay. You got copies for anything, but that's about it. But why is it important that Avery exists? Why is it important that other archives exist? That decade of Black history. It's really unique that Avery exists because not a lot of archives are dedicated to preserving the Black experience. A lot of archives just do general history, and our history is missed in that conversation. So having Avery as a center for Black study in Charleston is something that we all should take advantage of. So without having archives and without having the records, we cannot interpret or tell our own story. Welcome everyone. So at archives, we preserve records that help to tell the story of individuals. These are 3 individuals here that actually attended Burke High School. We have Mr. Lonnie Hampton, who was a year to graduate.
Everybody told me to just sign up for some scholarships, and with my GPA and stuff, I most likely could get a lot. And I got 20,000 off. I just trying to get the last 11 kids, and then I'm at least
I think the thing is, the thing about the college is usually once you've made it past freshman year, you're eligible for more scholarships.
I always thought it was
Archives is where something is preserved.
As much
It's that place where
the
recorded
college is
and
very
historian
particular about the money.
kept and preserved.
So it's like after
Okay,
you
so
after
that
your
number,
after your second semester.
where primary sources.